Hi, everybody. My name. My name is Carrie Rowe. I'm a program manager on the developer relations team for Google, and I run early access programs for Google. And today's our Firebase Fireside chat with Shazam, PicCollage, UrbanSitter, and Wego. And I'm really excited to host today's chat with 4 of our really important Firebase early access partners. And today's a great chance for you to ask them questions about their Firebase integrations and learn more about if Firebase is a good fit for you. And I will let the panel introduce themselves.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Clement. I'm product manager in Shazam for the Android platform.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm the Android engineering manager at Shazam.
Hi, my name is Sarah Selim, and I'm the strategy director at UrbanSitter, where we help parents find trusted babysitters.
Hi, I'm Ryan Cooke. I'm the lead Android developer at UrbanSitter, and I did most of the Firebase implementation.
Hi, we are PicCollage. I'm Angela, the product manager for Android.
And I'm Mica. I'm also product manager, but focus on iOS.
Hi guys, my name is Mittal. I'm from Wego, Singapore. It's a travel meta search engine. I'm the VP mobile, so I take care of the mobile apps products.
All right. So we've got microphones in the audience, so please feel free to come up and ask questions. And to kick it off, though, could you guys each tell us a bit more? So when Google came to you a few months ago and said, we were building Firebase, this unified mobile app development platform, what was your reaction? And now having spent the past few months developing with Firebase and launching on Firebase, what guidance would you share with other developers who are learning about Firebase for the first time?
Yeah, sure. I guess there were a lot of excitement in Shazam and some curiosity as well. We knew that with the Firebase expertise, combined with Google knowledge and Google scalability, then probably a lot of opportunities for us to improve our apps. So we were very eager to know what are the products we could integrate with. And when it comes to guidance, I'd say, yeah, you need to figure out, because there are quite lots of different products that you can integrate with Firebase. So the approach we had in Shazam is to go step by step and to understand what's the most important thing we want to solve. And on our side, engagement and retention was really a key thing. So we decided to integrate first with Dynamic Link, and that was great. And I think we're going to talk about our use case. But yeah, that would be really it, because you have different things you can improve with Firebase. You have the monetization, you have the quality of your app, you have the retention, the engagement. So probably do a priority list and see which are the product that suits best your app, and then go step by step. And if you have time and the engineers, you can also integrate with all of them.
Great. UrbanSitter?
What? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Please
there was
go
one
ahead.
more thing to add, I guess, as a consumer of quite a lot of SDKs. There was documentation from early on, which was pretty cool. And it really is as easy as it looked in some of the demos here. You just create your configuration file, you drag and drop, and it's pretty much working out of the box.
From our perspective, it's definitely, first we were a little, can you hear me fine? First, we were a little overwhelmed with all the options, but we were able to see analytics felt like it was core to getting a lot of value out of all the features, and we were just looking at improving our analytics solution. It was able to plug it in such a way that it was easy to write a wrapper around our existing analytic tools so that it sends to both our existing tools and Firebase, and we were able to immediately start getting more insights. From that, we quickly built on to crash reporting and remote config using what we found from analytics, and they all complemented each other quite well.
Oh, so PicCollage is a photo collage editing app on iOS, Android, and Windows. So for us, our main approach to improve product is to run a lot of experiments. So this is the main reason why we are really interested to integrate Firebase. And right before Firebase, we were thinking to try out Google Tag Manager, and then we found out that Firebase actually provides more features and even more powerful. And this is why we decided to try it on our product.
Yeah, and so we've tried many features in Firebase. and our main focus has been like running a lot of experiments. So one of the features we value a lot is remote config combined with analytics, because previously we used Google Stage Rollout to do a lot of experiments and A/B testing. So with remote config, we were able to do the A/B test within one APK without having to do stage rollout. And then the whole process actually has been reduced from 2 weeks to 1 week. And I think another feature is that the notifications, because we're targeting globally and we want the users to know our seasonal or holiday sticker packs at the right time. And previously we need to like stay up late or even send out the notifications on weekends. So with the schedule feature in Firebase notification, we were able to just schedule it, set it up, and then we don't have to worry about anything anymore.
So for Wego, it was a bit different. I mean, before Google came to us, we actually went to Google asking for an SDK. And the reason why it's a bit different for us is because we operate in markets like Southeast Asia. There's countries like India and Indonesia where devices are not as powerful as in this part of the world. The connectivity is also very, very poor. I think there's more people on 2G and 3G until 2020. So there's no hints of LTE coming in as well very soon. So for us, I mean, as product guys, as engineers, it's a big challenge for us to have light apps. And by light apps, I mean something up to 10 MB is something we think is a good benchmark for our markets. But every SDK that we add, and I'm pretty sure like people over here who've had an app for more than a year would have an SDK for attribution, one for analytics, one for push notifications, maybe another one for A/B testing, maybe one for crashes as well. So for every SDK that we add, it adds a good 1 to 4 MB on the size, and we're sending the same events and parameters to all the analytics tools as well. So we approached Google as well, pretty much begged them to ask, requested whatever you can think. But we asked Google, given the position, to come up with something. So when we heard about Firebase actually coming in, we were pretty happy about it, obviously, and we jumped onto it. So we're hoping that in the ideal world we have only one SDK which does everything from analytics, crashes, push notifications, A/B testing, dynamic links, and so on.
Great, thank you. All right, well, we'll take a live question.
Yeah, I was wondering, UrbanSitter guys, whether you could tell us a little bit more about what you were using remote config for and kind of how you found that.
Sure. So remote config, initially we had just implemented the analytics. Through the analytics, it came through our new funnels. There were 2 key funnels that had very low conversion rates, like below 20%. So it was kind of an obvious use case of can we improve this conversion rate? So we used the remote config to serve a couple different copies, different options to get past the pages that were giving people problems. And with that, we were able to send the test into Firebase Analytics, kind of using the same tool, which is the big sell point of Firebase. And using the same tools, we could see which version was converting better and make effortless kind of changes to then switch everybody to get the better version. It was sitter sign-up funnel was the specific use case we were focusing on.
I was just going to add to that, you called out something that was particularly useful for us about Firebase Analytics. We found that the way Firebase handles funnels worked really well in this case for us. So at UrbanSitter, sitters are asked to take a number of steps before they complete their profile, but it doesn't matter which order they take those steps in, and we'd had challenges with other analytics tools and sort of expecting that those would be closed, and so the open funnel worked really well for us in using this data.
Well, so while we're waiting for more live questions, can you guys tell us a bit more about dynamic links? And Shazam, you guys did a really interesting integration with dynamic links and in your Coca-Cola campaign. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know how many of you are ever Shazam TV campaign. That's not something we do worldwide, but in the US we do it quite a lot. And one of them, well, it was not a TV campaign, but actually you can Shazam Coke bottle, which have lyrics, and then it takes you to a sort of experience where you can do videos, lip sync videos, and you can share them. And before dynamic links, you share your videos, and your friends were watching it, and if they wanted to make their own videos, they were tapping on a button, and they had to go to the Play Store, install it, But once they open the app for the first time, they will go to our home page without the Cooke experience, which was the reason why they initially installed the app. So it was great because now with Dynamic Link, the first thing they open when they install the app is actually the Cooke campaign, and then they can make their video. So it's the first impression. It's the reason why they initially installed the app, and we actually noticed that from those users who were coming from a Dynamic Link versus the one who were coming and opening the app versus in the home page, those users coming on from Dynamic Links retain 15% higher after 2 weeks, which is still quite high for us.
Yeah, that's great.
So that was our first use, and then the second use is when you are Shazamming a song, a lot of users are actually sharing it on Facebook, Twitter, and when you're tapping on whatever your friends share, you're landing into our website, and from there you can install the app. So if you install the app again, you're installing the app before Dynamic Links, you were opening the app and coming to our home page, whereas now we can take the user exactly where they were coming from, so the track page inside the app. And again, we had some very good numbers on retention. So that's the main use case for us, and it's been very useful so far.
That's great, yeah.
I guess
Anything
small
else
thing
to
to add is it really depends on how you've architected the app as well. So if you already support deep links, it makes it so much easier because you don't have to do much apart from just intercepting the intents that come from the Firebase SDK, basically. And that made it really easy for us to integrate with dynamic links.
Did anybody have anything else they wanted to add on dynamic links?
At Wego, we very recently just launched dynamic links, and for us, the use case is that we can, like a marketing team, can finally run retargeting style acquisition campaigns now. So we're looking at people's interests and giving them an ad, let's say about hotels in Singapore. They would click on that ad, install the app, and then homepage, and they've lost track of what they actually wanted to see. So now we can actually do retargeting style acquisition campaigns where we can target you at the right place, right time, something you're interested in, maybe hotels in Singapore. You click on it, install the app, and you automatically go to the hotels in Singapore page, which itself is a major uplift in the kind of user experience people are used to these days.
Great, thank you. We'll take another audience question.
I'm just curious if any of you guys have tried the AdWords integration that we recently opened up to AP, and if you haven't, what you would expect from something like that kind of experience.
So is that the AdWords integration? I mean, we haven't done it, but we plan on doing that. We've already launched 5 or 6 out of the 14 functions, but one of the biggest things we're looking at is creating audiences and segments and kind of importing that into AdWords so that we can acquire more users who are similar to the audiences that make sense for us. But yeah, it's early days for us. We plan on doing that very soon.
So we did just go through the AdWords linkage with Firebase, and it was really easy to do. It was a couple of clicks to connect the accounts. And one of the nice things is that we can take any of the events that we had instrumented with our Firebase analytics and actually turn those into conversion events, which then show up in AdWords, and is really great. And so we've just started to do some optimization of our marketing campaigns around those events. And I'd say in general, this is one of the reasons we were so excited about working with Firebase, is just all of the ways that Firebase can play with existing Google tools that we use. So we also connected Firebase to our Google Analytics account because we have both a web and a mobile app property. And since we're already going to Google Analytics to do a lot of our analytics, having the Firebase data and dashboards show up there is really great. And so similarly, we're excited about the AdWords. We're excited about seeing that grow as well, being able to use that more.
We'll take another question, please.
Yeah, I had 2 questions. I was wondering if any of you have used the data storage or the real-time data storage capabilities. And the second question was, have you taken any of your analytics data and like reformed that or reformatted it for reporting purposes, or tried to kind of reuse that data for an external audience so they're not like logging into your dashboards, et cetera?
For the real-time database, I think we all had very large kind of existing user bases with established databases, so we did not, none of us changed as far as I'm aware. From what I've seen, it's really cool, but I can't speak to that. For the analytics, we've wrapped it to work with other analytic tools. We've exported it somewhat to BigQuery, which gives you a lot of options on just how you want to get the data. So it gives you good flexibility there. We still are exploring kind of all the options, especially with BigQuery. There's kind of endless what you can get out of that.
For us, at Wego, we already use BigQuery as our backend, essentially our database of users and events and everything. Again, this is also one of those things where we haven't started it yet, but we plan on exporting that data into our BigQuery and kind of merging information about our users into certain other events that we can only do on the server side itself.
Yeah, please.
I have a question actually related to the question you're currently answering. So now we all have our existing analytics tool. How do we deal with the historical data and import it to Firebase analytics?
Do you guys know the answer?
Sure. I don't think there is a current solution for historical data. They're adding features fast and they love feedback, so you could suggest and they might add some API where you can export or import historical data. What we did was we just wrapped all our existing analytic events so they also send to Firebase and then kind of start it fresh with Firebase. It gave us the opportunity to rethink some of our events, but overall I don't think there is a current solution to get your historic data.
I have another question, what kind of feature you want most but currently not yet supported in Firebase?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we've just launched Firebase. This is the beginning of a long journey. But what additional features would you guys like to see in Firebase?
Oh yeah. I think if specifically for analytics, because as I said, we put a lot of focus on experiments, and when running experiments, we find that it's very important to find out the confidential level for each of the stats and data. So it would be great because right now the Firebase already has all the data show in the one dashboard, and it's easier to compare. So when doing experiments, I think if we had the feature that show the confidential level of different groups, that would really help to validate the results of each experiment.
For me personally, I'd say in the analytics, we mentioned that we like the open funnel for funnels that are unordered, but currently the traditional funnel where the user has to do the first step to show up in the second one is not implemented in Firebase. There is a relatively easy workaround for that. But it was one of those things we came in expecting, and we're looking forward to that showing up. That's probably my biggest request.
Kind of a smaller one for me would be to get ANRs as well with the crash reporting, because currently you have to go to a couple of places to check where ANRs happen and crashes. And since we have been using crash reporting quite heavily, that's the thing that's missing right now.
For Wego, it's actually around uninstalls and reviews. So while I know in the latest in the latest version of Firebase we have uninstall attribution, but we want to really find out more about why people are uninstalling our apps. So maybe getting access to the last 3 or 4 events within the app before someone did an uninstall or left a review on the App Store. A lot of our times people leave, let's say, a 2-star or 3-star without explaining why, and we really want to improve, so we respond to them, but sometimes we don't hear back. So it would be really good if we can find out before someone uninstall the app or give us a rating, what did they do within the app, what did they find? Was it because of bad user experience? Was it because of slow speeds? Was it because they just didn't get any results? I think that's something that for our part of the world is very important because of the low device memory. People uninstall apps all the time.
One more to add. One of the properties we haven't integrated yet, at Shazam at least, is the remote config. And I think it's pretty exciting. I don't want to say something wrong, but I think there's no API access for adding and removing values there. So I think that would help us make it communicate with our older configuration servers and make everything a bit more seamless.
Well, thank you guys for all of the feedback. It will definitely go back to the product team. And I really encourage other developers out there also, as you start using Firebase, if you have feedback that can help us make it better, we definitely want to hear. We'll take another question.
Hi, I was wondering if you have any specific examples where you used analytics or crash reporting to gain some insight from your actual users to go in and actually make some change to your app.
So I have a small one, like it's around crash reporting. So we've used a couple of SDKs in the past, but none of them actually. So sometimes your app crashes. You want to send those specific users like a push notification or inform them about, hey, we're still fixing it. Please bear with us. Or it's been fixed where we've never had that capability before. Now we've basically gone through some of our people who got crashes and send them a push notification only to those people. So you can create audiences of people who received a specific crash and then send them a push notification all from Firebase.
For me, it would be to be able to see the number of affected users by a crash. Until now, we didn't have that in our previous system. And I think that gives you a very good idea about whether a bug affects everyone or is it just a very small group of people who have a particular device, and then you can just go to the console and see what's happening. And yeah, we have been able to track issues like that in the past just by the number of users that were affected.
So Ryan mentioned already that we used the funnel piece of analytics to look at our sitter sign-up flow, essentially, or it's really the profile completion flow. And so in that, we found the two steps which had the biggest drop-off were the step where we ask sitters actually to enter their direct deposit information, and also the step where we ask them to film a short introductory video. And so we did some user testing and then actually ran a remote config test on those screens to helpfully communicate more to users why we were asking them to do that. So that was really helpful.
Another one, which is not a product we integrated with yet, but we're really looking forward to add it, is a remote config. And we can think of several ways where we could actually adapt our track page, which is our most seen page in app, when you identify a song and we reveal you what the song is. We've seen that quite a lot of our users really like to share it, and some others are just video lovers and they want to watch the video. So the good thing with remote config, we'll be able basically to adjust on the fly without having a new release, and maybe say for those users show more share options, for those users focus on the video, for those users they want to see lyrics, and you can basically change those modules on the fly, and that will be very useful. So that's really something we're looking forward to add.
Thanks. We'll take another question.
Have y'all run into any performance issues with the integration of analytics, especially for like lesser performing devices?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that question?
Yeah, did you run into any performance issues when you integrated the analytics into your application?
I mean, because we are on the early access program, we kind of knew that we're going to be working with Google, giving them a lot of feedback, and it's an early private beta, so there were some performance issues, but the good thing is that we work with Google team, and most of these issues have been fixed pretty much within the same week that we've asked for. But no performance issues so far. Our iOS and Android apps are currently live with Firebase, running absolutely fine.
Yeah, and at least at the initial versions of the Firebase SDK, everything is running as a separate process. So it shouldn't affect at all what's happening, even if you're doing anything on the main thread, really. It shouldn't affect the performance of your app. And Firebase, the good thing with Firebase is it does all of their reliant messaging, so it's trying to push whenever it finds network and all that. But you're talking about performance of the app. I don't think there's been anything that we've noticed.
More specifically, like database access. Like we use the database extremely heavily. So I've heard that there's issues, but I was curious if you guys ran into any of that.
So none of us use the Firebase database piece. The analytic piece should not touch the database or have kind of any effect on it, as far as I tell. It should be sent all asynchronously and probably batched, kind of the best practices you would expect out of it. The most effect I could see is the APK would probably be a tiny bit bigger, and you'd probably use a tiny bit more of the user's data, but both of those would be so small, it'd be hard to notice. For database effect, I don't think there's any from analytics.
If you want to stick around after the talk, we have some members from our analytics team here. We're happy to talk with you more in depth on that. So actually, Honey, are you able to share some more about what it's like to develop an app in Southeast Asia, and specifically any challenges that Firebase helped you overcome?
Yeah, I mean, so Southeast Asia itself is comprised of countries like Singapore, where we have 1 GB per second connection speeds, like the most expensive devices in the world, the best network ever. And we have countries like Indonesia, where the sort of like the local kings, you know, where we can get devices for $50 to $100 Android device with a 2G or if you're lucky a 3G connection with it. So, and obviously we want to make one app and not one app per country. And if you want to make one app for Southeast Asia, there's about 10 or 11 languages there. We also operate in the Middle East, so we have a total of 22 languages. So for us, it's always a big challenge. How do we maintain a fine balance between what we can preload into the app and what we want to download on the fly? And how do we keep the app really, really small in size? Because, you know, like a lot of gaming companies had this big problem in Southeast Asia where you're getting a game of 1 GB. People will never ever be able to download that, even on the best Wi-Fi connections. So we try and keep our apps to, you know, like 10 MB as a rule of thumb max, and we try and reduce the number of network calls. But having said that, each and every you know, like function that Firebase provides us, in the past we've had one SDK especially for that. And as I said previously as well, every SDK adds 2 to 3 MBs, every SDK brings its own problems, and every SDK needs the same events and parameters being sent to them. And even worse, when we start importing the data into one global place, very unlikely that all of it will match. So there's a lot of work required. We need like people to actually export data and then map it. And then for the end user, it could mean that, you know, the users in Indonesia start downloading the app but give it up midway, or, you know, they realize that there's too much connection being used or battery is dying. So that's why, I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges we have is how do we keep our app small, fully optimized, kind of something similar to the, you know, the Google's Next Billion User initiative, where probably try and load the text fields first and try and leave the rich media for later on. But it's pretty challenging to do it in one app when you're operating in markets like Singapore, Saudi Arabia as well, where none of this is a problem. So yeah, I mean, that's why I think we're very, very excited about Firebase. One SDK, just need to send the events one place, and then can use the audiences, can use whatever cohorts, whatever segments we've set up in across, whether it's AdWords or an AdMob, or for crashes or for sending out push.
It's great to hear. So Angela and Mica, can you tell us more about the PicCollage integration with remote config?
Okay, so for remote config, we started from Android first, because previously we did the experiments through stage rollout, so that's one of the features Google has. And then I think the integration was pretty easy because it's just one SDK and it doesn't require a lot of time. Like the developer can do the integration within 1 or 2 days. But I think the most of the time spent was on the discussions between the product team and the development team, because we need to find out like which metrics we want to track and which experiment is the most like priority we want to run the first. Yeah, so, but with remote config, we were able to do it very quickly, and then we can apply the results immediately after we get that. So actually, we just had run an experiment a few weeks ago, which was to test like the tabs in the app and then the navigation button at the same time. So we separated using remote config, and then we get the result, and then we applied it to 100% of the user right away.
It's really great. So I'm actually just really curious to hear from you guys. You'll have integrations live with Firebase. Where do you see Firebase? How do you see your company using Firebase going forward? What are you most excited about? What problems? What's solved for you? How will it help your business grow?
I think we've spoken about it a couple of times. It's remote config. Everything for us would be next. I'm pretty excited about the test lab as well. We do have quite a lot of tests, and we do maintain our own infrastructure. Because we have a quite large test suite at the moment, we have our own tooling to make sure everything runs very quickly. But I think that would be our next step on the technical side, not so much on the growth. I'll let Clem get that.
Yeah, I think one of the great things with Firebase is how user-friendly is the platform. So App Analytics, for example, you can very quickly see if there is something wrong and then react very quickly. Whereas maybe some of the tools we used were a bit too much spreadsheet, and you really take some time to actually figure out what's going wrong. And the whole platform is very user-friendly, and remote config looks like it is as well. And for me, it's really going to be a game changer, because every time we wanted to change the variables or something, it would require some time, and I couldn't do it on the fly. And with remote config, it's something that is like I can change from one day to another and really respond fast to anything, if anything is going wrong, or if we want to change something and don't want to have to wait for a next release. So that's really good. And yeah.
So one of the things that appealed to us right from the beginning with analytics is the fact that we can create more events than we've ever been able to do before and not have to think about limits. And so that's something I think we're going to continue to lean into as instrument even more in the product itself. And then our marketing team, I think, is going to be very excited to do some work with notifications. That's something we haven't worked with yet, but all of the stories we've heard from other members of the early access program who've used notifications, it's just an incredible functionality for teams to be able to use.
Definitely want to agree with the analytics events, where both of those are true, of course. The analytics, we've been on paid solutions before, and as a smaller startup, the pricing starts to get in the way. With Firebase, we know that every user is going to hit this screen 50 times a session. That's great. We want to know every time they hit it. And we're just able to really illuminate lights on funnels and parts of our apps that we've had no insight on are people interacting with this button? Do they use the sort option? So as with all analytics solutions, you can put as much analytics in the app as you have time for. And I think we're going to be just pushing a lot more in that direction. I'm also very excited about test labs, especially with Android Studio 2.2. They have the Espresso testing. I think that's Android Studio, but the Espresso test runner. So it sounds like it'll be very easy to make Espresso tests and run them in test lab, which is just a really neat feature.
So for PicCollage, we have a lot of ideas, not just for PicCollage. We have a lot of ideas for other technologies, and then at the same time, we wanted to build different apps to validate this idea. So it will be like we're really excited to have the remote config and analytics both at the same time, because we can easily push out our apps and have the results immediately through Firebase. And then so the whole thing will make this cycle very fast. And as a startup, it's very important for us to run the experiments and to test out everything we wanted to test in the very fast pass. So we're pretty excited about this.
So in addition to running experiments on our side project, we're also excited to have more features in each features, like remote config. We heard that it will provide more than A/B testing. It will have more variations in remote config, and also dynamic links. We are excited to having more metrics like install rate or even in-app purchase rate, because we use it for most sticker, the content promotional links. And also for notifications, we are very excited to have a deep link in the app in the next update, I think. So yeah, we are pretty excited to try more use cases through Firebase and to improve our product.
I think while Firebase being just one SDK has a big advantage for our product directly, another thing that I want to highlight is that because we use so many SDKs right now, and every SDK does something different, and definitions of attribution, definitions of a user session can be very different in each of these tools. We have the marketing team looking into one tool, the product team looking into the other tool. So we're really hoping that going forward we have one SDK, one tool where whether you're from the marketing team or from the sales team or from the product team, even if you're from the technical side, you're looking into the same data, you're looking into the same single source of truth, and you can focus more on building great apps rather than getting your analytics right.
All of these things are great to hear, and we're very much looking forward to working with you and helping you grow your business. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we'll wrap up here. Thank you for coming out, and thank you very much to our panel for participating.